Hello everyone and welcome back to For Fun and Profit. My name is Basilisk and I'm still your host, so let's get started. This time we're going back to The Legend of Zelda, but far later in the series' lifespan than we did last time. This time we're talking about A Link Between Worlds, the open-world 3DS game that tried to marry open-world game design and the traditional Zelda formula. I need to stop playing with things on my desk. How did that marriage work out? Well, that's what we're here to find out, so let's dig into it. Okay, so what do I mean by marrying open-world game design and the traditional Zelda formula? Well, the basis of A Link Between Worlds is that the player can do the majority of the dungeons in any order and go anywhere in the overworld, just about from the word go. There's only a few roadblocks and they're easy to move out of the player's way pretty early on. The game's fast travel system is also unlocked just after the first dungeon, so once you get to a place you can get back pretty easily so long as you activate a nearby windmill to teleport to. Now this has obvious benefits to the game design. If an area is giving the player trouble, no problem, go do another area and come back later. It also allows the player a great deal of freedom from the beginning of the game, giving them the ability to explore and learn at their own pace. Furthermore, this open world design also means that the player is not likely to get caught unprepared by enemies they didn't know about. All in all, there's some good solid bonuses here. However, there's also some very strong downsides, and when looked at clinically, they actually outnumber the upsides, although I don't think they overpower them. The first downside is the difficulty. A Link Between Worlds doesn't so much have a difficulty curve as it does a difficulty drop-off. I don't know anyone who's played this game and hasn't had most of their deaths at the beginning of the game, generally in the House of Gales, which is the second dungeon most players will tackle. Sorry. To make something of a point, on my last playthrough of A Link Between Worlds, when I played the game on Hero Mode, where you take 4 times the damage from every hit, I died 9 times in the entire game, and that included 2 failed runs through the Tower of Torment, a bonus gauntlet that's the most difficult part of the game. And 1 time where I goofed up the final boss. Where were most of my deaths? In the House of Gales, of course. The reason for this drop-off in difficulty is the open-world design. Because the player could go almost anywhere, most of the game is designed with the possibility that each location may be the player's first. This is especially true of the dungeons, and the end result is that the further into the game the player is, and the more upgraded gear and health they have, the easier the game is, because the difficulty doesn't scale up to match the player's advanced strength. Another weakness is that the player can visit most of the game from damn near the start. Since the player can visit most of the game from damn near the beginning of the game, most of the player's arsenal is available from damn near the start of the game as well. Because of this, the game doesn't have that much to reward the player with as they go through the game. The first 4 dungeons, counting Hyrule Castle, have no real rewards besides rupees and monster items you can use to make potions. The last 8 dungeons do have some upgrades, but none of them are items to help open up the world or make it easier to explore, barring the Giant's Glove and maybe the Stamina Scroll. As for the rest, 3 of the 4 ores need to upgrade your sword, an upgraded shield, and 2 upgraded armors. All of this is handy, but none of it expands what the player can do in any significant way. This applies to the overworld as well. Most of the overworld just has rupees and monster items, with the odd heart piece and that last piece of ore you need to upgrade your sword. Now, to be fair, rupees do have a huge purpose in the game early on, as you need to rent and later buy most of your arsenal. But later in the game, it just becomes silly. The only other thing to be found are the 100 Mai scattered around the world. Small, squeaky creatures in conch shells that can be brought back to their mother in exchange for giving your rented items and such, mostly really minor upgrades. Another aspect of the game that suffers is the exploration. But it suffers in this case because the world wasn't fully designed around the open world gameplay. A Link Between Worlds uses a very similar world map to A Link to the Past, which makes narrative sense because A Link Between Worlds is a direct sequel to A Link to the Past. However, because of this, there's a lot of linear caves and pathways to navigate as you make your way across the world. Because of this, the exploration feels more linear in practice than it is in theory. And it winds up feeling really awkward, because the game makes a big focus on go wherever you want and freedom of exploration, but exploration itself is linear. Or exploring a place is linear once you get to it, rather. You can go anywhere you want, but the areas themselves are designed in a very linear way. Anyways, onward. This applies to the overworld as well. Most of the overworld just I'm repeating myself. 2 down, okay. Another, I was reading the wrong part of the script. Another way the exploration is hurt is that it just doesn't feel all that rewarding to explore, especially later in the game. There aren't many worthwhile rewards to be had, and exploration is simultaneously really easy due to the difficulty drop-off, and really linear and overly structured due to the world design, as I just explained. Due to this, the exploration just becomes boring and tedious, especially after you've unlocked a lot of the windmills that can warp around really easily. And that's pretty much all the notable effects the world design has on the game. Now, I'm sure it seemed like I was complaining about the world design far more than I was praising it, and I was, but that's not because I don't like the game or I think it's bad. A Link Between Worlds is a great fun game, one of the best in the series in my opinion, and one of these days I'll talk about the dungeon design, which is a big part of the reason because it's pretty good. However, I find that the problems that A Link Between Worlds open design causes are more interesting to talk about than the benefits, and I think it's because A Link Between Worlds attempt to compromise between open world game design and linear game design is not rarely done. It's not attempted very often because, well, it's not easy to pull off, and this gives me a good look at why. And I think it's more important to discuss those drawbacks rather than heap praise on elements of game design that are already generally well known. Anyways, that wraps up this episode of For Fun and Profit. Join me here next time when we talk about the original Witcher and the good and bad of the overall design of that game. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Good night, folks!